but I'm giving Joe the primary speaking privileges over here right now. He watched Justice League, the Snyder Cut, the much discussed Snyder Cut. He knows a lot more about it than I do. I saw Justice League once. That's enough. I don't love the superhero movies enough to sit through it for another 4 hours. I respect that Zack Snyder's vision got released. I do respect that. That's pretty awesome, to say the least. And it's a good boost for HBO Max, which is the best streaming service today. With that all being said, I turn it over to Joe for his review of Justice League, the Snyder Cut.
All right, Dom, you mind if I just take the lead and you can just jump in at any point? Like,
let me just say that I will not give a star review because I did not watch the whole movie. I don't feel that's not fair at all for doing that. Additionally, yes, I only watched half of it because that's all I could give. I'm sorry, but that's kind of telling you. It's kind of like my star review in and of itself. But yes, Joe, it's yours. I'll chime in every now and then when I can, but I'll give it to you.
All right. Well, I'm gonna open up with this. I watched it the night it came out, and as you recall, if you go back through Sleepless with Steve's catalog, you can find the 2017 review of this film. And if you go back and watch it, there is a moment near the end of the movie. I just start the movie ranting about how much this disappointed me because of how I grew up with these characters. These are the ones I grew up with. And Dom slowly zoomed the camera in on my face as I was ranting. I just went off and off and off about how much of just like you could tell this was just corporate interfering and that they should have planned this all from the start. They rushed everything. They gave these characters to the wrong man at hand, and he led them down this road, and now look what it's gone and everything. So now we're finally back to this movie, and now it's back in the hands of the guy that I thought was taking this whole direction the worst way possible. So what do I think of it? I'll start with this. Is it better than the 2017 movie? Oh my God, yeah, it's better than the 2017 movie. I go back and I listen to what I said about the movie, and I've gone back and I watched Justice League. I'm like, man, it's gotten worse over time. Like, I don't know if it's because like stuff has come out about the movie now, or if it's just like maybe like when I first saw it, I was just like, well, at least it was a little bit more lighthearted than typical DC stuff has been, and like at least they tried to like change some of the stuff that people were criticizing them for.
Because Joss Whedon, director of 2 Avengers movies, was the one who came in. Unfortunately, when Zack Snyder's daughter committed suicide, which is horrible. We're not, the comment on that's terrible, the worst thing. And when that happened, I think Zack Snyder it was in the middle of fighting, like my vision.
It was in the middle of all that,
this and that, and then when the daughter passed away, it was like he rightly had to step away, focus on the family for real, and like this, whatever. And then Joss Whedon took over, and then it became the abomination that it became. So now we get to see the artist's true vision here. And Joe, keep going.
And his true vision, I will say this. I did not like Man of Steel. I hate Batman versus Superman. But the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League is his best effort in the DCU. It is, like, to me, out of all the things he's done, this guy, like, when it came time to actually turn out this movie and like give his vision, I see where he was going for, and it's the best thing he's contributed to this whole universe. And it sucks that it had to take 4 hours to realize that, but hey, and being that it is 4 hours, this will be the last thing, and I'll finally get into more of the review. I don't think this movie would have worked in theaters even if it was 4 hours. I don't think it would have made the money Warner Bros. Was looking for still. If they gave Zack Snyder the vision he wanted, this thing still wouldn't have worked. But let's get started here. I'm going to start with the good parts of this film, and then I'll work my way to the bad stuff. Because I criticized that original film so much. Let's get this out of the way. A character that was totally botched in the theatrical cut of this film, but actually was improved here, is Cyborg. He's actually a character now, believe it or not. He's actually the heart of the film, and this is a total upgrade to people who are fans of the character that grew up with him, watching him in Teen Titans or even some other DC stuff. And also to Ray Fisher as an actor, because seeing the amount of screen time he gets here and what actually his character arc goes through and everything, it's like, oh yeah, man, I totally see why you were pissed off at Warner Brothers for the longest time for what they did to you, because yeah, you totally got gypped out of some really good emotional scenes between you and your father, and like a pretty good like arc, honestly. The next thing I want to focus on is that the Flash, believe it or not, is not annoying this time around. He starts that way. He totally does. But you start to notice how many one-liners are taken away from him that were in that theatrical cut, and you can go on YouTube, you can find the Joss Whedon, like all the jokes he added in the film, and just, the Flash is 90% of that video, and it's like, this time around, he's not annoying. Like, you think it's going to be that way when you're first introduced to him, and it's not. It's the complete opposite. He doesn't even do the whole stupid, I've never been in a fight before, I kind of just push people and shove away. No, he actually, like, steps up, mans up. He actually,
what is
like,
brunch?
What is brunch? It's so weird. Like, he doesn't do that. Like, none of those annoying characteristics where they were just like, hey, remember Iron Man and Spider-Man in Civil War? Do that. And just, being that the film is 4 hours long, too, we actually do get a lot more context this time around and a good understanding of what is going on in this convoluted storyline that Zack Snyder brought us. We actually get to understand what the mother boxes are, the significance of them, the importance of them. Steppenwolf this time around actually has a motivation, and it's an understandable one at that, too. He's actually a character. Not a great one, but actually a character, so I'll take the improvement there. And the fact that we actually get a motivation and I can see where he's coming from, I'll take that as an improvement. Even the way they managed to bring Superman back, like, I remember in the theatrical cut, I'm like, this is just happening. They actually explain it here in the second half of the movie of how they're going about it, why they need to do it, and it actually makes sense. And I'm just like, oh wow, you're actually making everything connect, even to why Superman's death was important in Batman versus Superman, which I'm just like, wow, for a thing I thought was a really stupid mistake, in this sequel, you actually turned it around and actually used it well. It doesn't make what happened in Batman vs. Superman better, but, you know, the least you can do is in a sequel, you improve on something like that. It's almost like when you see that this movie needed 4 hours to do all that and set up the context, it's almost like, maybe if you took your time with these movies, you would have been better off. And, you know, I'm just getting a little hot in here, just like, you know, just saying, like, another studio out there.
Oh my gosh.
Batman this time around, Ben Affleck, he's not a total idiot. For some reason, that 2017 cut, like, you totally see him just bumbling throughout the whole thing. The action scenes are incredibly well directed here. Yeah, it's rated R, and they add in blood, and it's terrible looking CGI blood, but the choreography here is very well done. It's like, Zack Snyder has always excelled to that for me.
I would say that is kind of in the same way that Steve said that the Russo brothers should have been producers instead of directors. I kind of wish Zack Snyder's career had gone more cinematography or editing or something as a visual director, maybe even, as opposed to full-on director.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah,
because there are shots of this movie that I'm like, damn, that's like straight out of a comic book panel or like an animated film that I've seen in the past, which is cool to see in like live action. And overall, like, yeah, it being a more character-focused movie, it makes it more interesting. You're more invested, and you know what? Those 4 hours, surprisingly enough, they flew by for me. Especially when you get to the second half of the movie, where like they actually start uniting and things get really moving, and we're now seeing the team come together. It really takes off. However, at the end of the day, and I'm sorry to say this to everybody, it is still Justice League. While there is context to everything, you can't help but feel the foundation that Warner Brothers or DC gave this universe from the start to collapse in on itself throughout the movie at points. You see where, like, maybe if we spent more time with these characters like Flash and Cyborg, even though they're given more context here, you still don't get the feeling that, like, man, maybe if they got their own movie, maybe if I was introduced to them in a different way, this would be better. But the fact that I'm being introduced to them and all this other stuff is happening at once, I just feel like I don't have enough time to get a real good feel for them. Yeah, it's much better this time around, sure, because we have 4 hours now to do that. And I'll give credit where credit is due. But still, it's not enough. I feel like I actually do need a movie. And you would think, like, well, 4 hours should be like 2 movies length. Yeah, but it's 2 movies length of explaining everything that we haven't had context for at this point. Which, speaking of context, exposition in this film goes on way too long. You remember in the theatrical cut where they show that big battle and the Green Lantern shows up? It comes back here. It's with their big bad Thanos character, Darkseid. And it's just so much exposition is done here. Gal Gadot does the first narration of it, and it's poorly done. Like, she just sounds like she's reading it for the first time. It is horribly executed. In fact, if there's one person that didn't benefit from this cut, it is Gal Gadot and Wonder Woman. This just has not been a good time for Wonder Woman between 1984 and this movie. Nothing is added to her character, and honestly, like, it made me start looking at Gal Gadot like, maybe you aren't meant for this role, and I hate to say that, because, like, after leaving the first film, I was like, oh, she's perfect, but, like, between 84 and this now, I'm like, I don't know anymore. And again, what the hell is with Nazis always finding these devices in these big blockbuster movies, like with the Allspark and Transformers, the Cosmic Cube thing in Avengers.
Literally Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones is always Nazis. I don't get it. Why do Nazis always find the MacGuffin of the movie before they have to find it? The next thing, I mean, and it comes to Zack Snyder, because this is Snyder Unleashed, but the slow motion here is unbearable at times.
Yes.
It is so annoying that every character in this film, their introduction is done like a music video. They come on screen, it's just slow motion the whole time, and it's just, you have an annoying song playing in the background that just doesn't fit the scene at all and makes it kind of cringy. The Flash's introduction, as much as I said it is an improvement, his introduction is the most cringiest too, because the song choice, what's happening, like it involves a truck speeding down through a very tight town while the driver's trying to find a cheeseburger that he dropped on the floor, and you could see where this is going, which is dumb, and it's just like, oh my god. Dom, did you want to add to that?
I just want to say, yeah, Zack Snyder's over reliance on slow motion is like, it's like a weird silent visual way of show don't tell.
Oh yeah,
you know. It's just weird how he's managed to nail that, where nail that problem, where it's like, yeah, don't you get it? How cool this is? This is so cool. This is so dude.
Look at this sesame seed from this burger falling.
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's planning scenes around how cool it'll look in isolation from everything else, as opposed to giving us a movie.
We get a shot of a cup being slowly put down, and it's just like, I don't need that. Like, this movie could actually probably been 3 hours if it wasn't for the slow motion. The other thing,
we have a few minutes left. I don't know what else you wanted to tackle here.
I'm gonna wrap it up right now. The last two things is, I mean, you started this franchise with them, and I still think they're the weakest thing about it. But both Henry Cavill and Amy Adams, while both I've seen them do better things, here as Lois Lane and as Superman, I think they still don't work. They don't have the chemistry. Even with the added scenes, they don't have anything there.
Sucks, because on paper it looks like they'd be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But for whatever reason,
I just don't feel it at all. And finally, and this is what knocked it down, and I don't know what the hell it was with this weekend and movies with, because this also has chapter intermissions as well in this movie as too. Yeah,
but it's 4 hours, so fine.
This movie has an epilogue, and let me tell you, it is.
I stopped halfway before they resurrected Superman, and then I fast forwarded to the end because I wanted to see what they snuck in at the end. So go for it.
Before we even get to the epilogue, there's a fan service moment where they bring in a character that has never been introduced in these movies, has never been brought up, and it's mainly just for fan service. But it totally ruins a really good dramatic scene that would have actually improved the character of Lois Lane. But because they end the scene with this reveal, it's like, oh, that was just stupid. But then he comes back in the last 20 minutes as well, along with all this other crazy stuff. And it's Batman versus Superman levels of just like fan service, setting up future movies, like level creativity here. Just shoving it, crowbarring it into the film. It's just like, oh my God, man, the movie, the franchise is dead. They should have chopped this last 20 minutes. I understand it's Zack Snyder's vision, but they should have been like, man, look, this isn't going to amount to anything no matter what. And like, I don't know if maybe enough fans complain and want it back. Maybe they'll restore his universe, but like, this last 20 minutes is just filled with nothing. It's just like that Joker scene that like everybody's been talking about that apparently is the best interaction between Batman and the Joker. It meant nothing. It's like also
the frick are people saying?
It also, like, I've seen articles saying that it's stupid. Jared Leto, like, again, I just don't see it. Like, I'm sorry, I don't see him as the Joker. And then to just like try to like build 20 other movies that were gonna happen, you kind of realize like, yeah, this epilogue once again just proves that DC was just a ship that was gonna crash at some point. Even if this film had Zack Snyder behind it from the start to the end, it was gonna crash with how much they were setting up here, especially during this whole epilogue sequence. It is awful. And like, I was honestly like, man, maybe I'll give it like a sympathy 3 out of 4 stars. No, when I got there, I was like, nope. Congratulations, Zach. I gave the original film 2 stars. This is now 2.5 out of 4 stars. Wow. There you go. You got the half star.
Let me just state, even from the first, only watching the first 2 hours. Oh my goodness. Even watching the first 2 hours, I can already tell you, here's what an extra 2 hours and re-editing will not get you. It will not fix overdone character designs. It will not fix the overabundance of slow motion dominating most scenes to just making my mind in the mush. It will not fix, cardboard dialogue and manufactured moments that, even if they feel less like a Joss Whedon Avengers, which was something that was plaguing the original, the basis of the film is still kind of that. And it's like you're not approaching it from a different angle. It's still that same blueprint, and you're really just it's secondhand, and it's just not coming together. So I could tell that already. And in fact, I'm glad I didn't watch that second 2 hours because it's like it can only the first 2 hours is where I think the most interesting things can occur.
Yeah.
After that, it's just going to become CGI vomit fight scenes.
Honestly,
whatever.
Too, as much as the second half, it flows better because the team's together and a ton of action is happening. When they do have the quiet moments and they're all interacting, it's like the team chemistry is still not there between these actors. Yeah.
For something like this, right? It is the culmination of a movie universe, or at least a stage or a phase of one, right? You still needed to do the work in about 4 other movies in order to get this even to where if again, with this formula, with this specific method, history has proven you still need to do the work in other movies, and it just wasn't done. And let me state, as much as Marvel stands as we are, Joe being the hardest Marvel stan out of the 3 of us.
I'll call him out though when they do something wrong, but yeah true.
Me too. And it's like it has been plaguing Marvel for many movies. There's more than a handful of a lot of misses and a lot of movies that are dragged down because of other issues, but at least they know what they are and they can lean into their strengths and they can do it right. This Justice League, no matter whose cut it is, was always going to be leaning into something that it was secondhand. It was trying to copy something, and it was never going to come into its own.